Hello everyone and welcome to the Brickyard, where we are getting set for the 6th round of a Kamel GT Championship, and you're going to get to watch all of the multi-class racing action unfold live here on the global SimRacing channel. Hi everyone, I'm Samuel Ryman, and alongside me in the booth is Adam Lindgren. Behind the scenes is our director Sean Ambrose, and he is using camera sets provided by Dougie Beard. Indianapolis then is a setting for the halfway point of the season, and while this track may be more well known for its oval racing, its road course certainly has made some history of its own. Let's give you a closer look at today's venue with our GSRC track guide.
Welcome to the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Though this track is by far more famous for its oval, which has been around for more than 100 years, road racing has become a regular feature thanks to the infield course built at the turn of the century. It has gone through multiple changes since then, but here on iRacing there are two road layouts to choose from. Both clock in at just over 2.5 miles, with the moto version including 16 turns and the road version having 13. The bike circuit is far less used on iRacing with its more technical start to the lap, but still runs in the traditional counterclockwise direction. The road circuit, however, runs clockwise and presents a stark contrast between the twisty infield portion and the incredibly fast half that runs on the oval. Passing is often difficult here, but by far the most popular spot is under braking down into turn 1. From there, drivers are taken through a series of corners with little chance to rest between them. However, the exit of turn 11 often proves to be the most critical of the corners, with it leading you back onto the oval. Taking what is usually turn 1 in reverse, drivers build up incredible speeds. This tends to cause slipstream battles to erupt and can often make for close, exciting finishes. Formula 1, IMSA, and MotoGP have all taken to the track, but currently IndyCar has become the biggest event the road circuit sees all year. Preceding the traditional practice and qualifying weeks leading to the Indianapolis 500, the Grand Prix of Indy has become one of the more desirable victories to claim. While there is still a proportionally small amount of history built on this version of Indianapolis, it's quickly becoming both a popular and well-used portion of this famous racetrack.
Well, that was our track guide of Indianapolis, where we saw lots of high downforce modern race cars. A bit older race cars here today that we're going to be watching a race around this joint. So let's go into the nitty-gritty details. Adam, what have you got for us?
Absolutely, Samuel. Indianapolis Motor Speedway's Grand Prix road courses started to see a resurgence of popularity among real-life racing series in recent years, as you mentioned, with NASCAR joining IndyCar with putting the circuit on their calendar. This 2.6 mile or 4.2 kilometer 14-turn layout is one of the most unique in auto racing because the flat profile of the circuit, along with the inclusion of taking the banked oval in turn 1 in reverse, makes for a challenging track to set up for the cars for. And the Audis and Nissans racing today are going to take two different approaches. The Nissans will likely be trimming their cars out for the good speed on the two long straightaways and the banking, while the Audis will be prepping their cars to rotate well through the corner to gain time versus their challengers through turns 1 and 6 and through 7 and 10. Multiclass here is focusing on the Nissan's ability to be able to predict when the Audis will run wide from the apexes, and on the Audis' patience with the Nissans, who will be eager to take away those apexes and the exits to try and gain a few crucial tenths. Each time we come to the circuit, Sam, it ends up being fireworks show, and I expect nothing different from today.
Yeah, and it looks like we've got an even split. 14 GT cars and 14 prototypes. We'll get to more of that in just a moment. Let's take a look at some of bigger names and how they're doing in the points after 5 rounds so far. And here you can see only 7 points separating our two championship leaders over in the GTP standings. Matthias Havdahl has a 7-point lead over Alex Gall. 25 points back is Alex Millward, and then the drivers a bit further back from that have a little bit of work to do, but we're only 5 rounds into a 12-round season, so who knows what could happen. What's it like over in the GTOs, Adam?
Well, fortunately for us today, the top 3 in the points are all here in this race. Yuko Leskola 7 points ahead of Reed Miller. Billy Roll is 25 points back, but don't let that fool you. There are drop weeks, but he has missed 2 races this season, which means he can't miss another one. Otherwise, he will start really being down on the points to Yuko Leskola. So with a drop week in play, that would put Billy Roll around even with Yuko Leskola. But Yuko has been so strong this season. Expect him to be up there battling for the win. Albrecht Liebenau and Hugh Haycox are not here today. They're both 34 and 35 points back of the lead, respectively. Expect to see them drop off the back of this page next week.
Yeah, likewise over in the GTP standings, having a look there, our points leader Matthias Havdal is not here, and nor is Cyantra, who sits 5th in the points coming in, so that could definitely open up some opportunities. Qualifying is underway here on the racetrack. Let's have a look at our race info for when this session comes to completion. It is round number 6 of 12, so in about an hour we will be halfway through the season. I say about an hour because it's a 40-minute race. So these drivers will have calculated how much fuel they'll need for that time. Open setup, no fast repair, no cautions, no real helps or anything. You've got what you got, bring it to the end in one piece. You can have 17 incidents before you get a penalty. 25 incidents will disqualify you for the race. I'm already seeing a couple of drivers put their wheels in the grass. Obviously not what you want to do in qualifying. That means your lap time will not count.
Absolutely, Samuel. As we start going on the on our qualifying times, Vili Rolla only good enough for second right now, with Yuko Leskola currently on pole for the GTOs, about 3/10 ahead of Yuko. Alex Gall currently holds the pole position in the GTPs, and Matthias Havdal actually is here, and he's only 9/1000ths of a second off of Gall's time on the first lap. So very interesting to see how they're going to fish out their second laps.
Yeah, so Havdal is here. Cyantra is not though, so I got 1 out of 2. I'll take that as a win. Here we have Lost Olsen currently on screen, working his way through the final complex of corners. And we're going to pick up our provisional pole sitter here, Alex Goll. He's coming around to complete his second time lap. Let's see if he can improve on that 1:13.1 as he comes across the line. Not an improvement.
Let's see whether or not Matthias Havdal can. He's going to come across the line very shortly. Can he improve on 1:13.1? No, he can't. 2/10 lost on that second lap for both of our top 2 GTP drivers.
The provisional GTO pole sitter is working his way around the last couple of turns on his second lap now, as we're watching Alex Millwood to see where Millwood goes. He goes third in GTP. Our GTO provisional pole sitter of Yuko was sitting at a 1:24.1. He brings it down to 1:23.8.
Vili Rolla just about to cross the line now. Let's see what kind of a time he puts in. As he crosses the line, it is an improvement, but it's going to bump him only up to second place, still 2/10 behind Yuko Leskola. So unless someone can turn in a cracking lap, Yuko's got pole. Here's Ove Trangarade. He's been up there challenging for the lead most of the time this season, but he's only going to place good enough for 5th position on that lap.
And one reason I think we see the track very busy right now in qualifying, everyone in a hurry to get their laps in, is it is the morning as far as iRacing is concerned. Virtual standard time, as I like to call it, is about 8 a.m. So the track temperature is very low, and that's going to increase as we get into race conditions.
Absolutely. There's Radar Anderson crossing the line with a 1:13.9. Decent lap for Radar, so good for him. Joseph Budrak coming across the line with a 1:14.8. That's not going to be that great for him, putting him in 10th position right now. So here's Alex Millward once again, 3rd position. Let's see whether or not he can get himself onto that front row.
Coming across the line, he does improve, but not enough. It's a 1:13.6. It's less than 100th of a second between our front row in GTP, and then they have half a second over everyone else. Don't be surprised if that ends up being a 2-horse race. Donald Peak across the line, 14th and last in GTP qualifying right now, and he improves, I believe, but he stays 14th.
Yeah, unfortunately that lap didn't count. Here's Robert Murphy. Ove Trangarade is going to be right behind him as well, crossing the line to the end of their second laps. Robert almost pushing all the way wide there, almost hitting the outside wall as they go down the front stretch. 1:24.7 is going to be Ove Trangarade's time. He does improve his time, but does not improve his position. He's going to line up behind Reed Miller.
Yeah, so Ove Trangarade down in 6th in the grid. Honestly, qualifying Well, it's actually pretty close in both classes. I mentioned that the top 2 in GTP have half a second over the rest, but you see there on the left side of the screen, the top 6 within a second. Let's see if Joseph can get up in there.
Ooh. A 1:14.45 for Joseph Mudrack, so an improvement once again, but can't quite jump up that position. Can't get past Nick Bacanos, who's up ahead of him in 9th. Here's Christian Rivas, who we have not seen that much of this season. He's raced a couple of races, so good to see him back here, trying to cross the line. Target to beat for him to improve position would be a 1:26.190, but he puts in a 1:30.542, so there's another one of those drivers trying to get their feet under them here in the Kamel GT Series. Don Peak improves his time, a 1:16.467, but unfortunately, he'd already completed all of his qualifying laps.
Yeah, just trying to get more experience there. Christian was out of a gas on the oval part of the circuit, which I can't imagine you have to be out of a gas in the GTO, so my impression is maybe he wants to start towards the back, which honestly, with this many cars, a 28-car field for a 40-minute sprint race, maybe you do want to be safe at the start, just make it through. Hideki Kavisto goes across the line. He's sitting at a 1:26.1. Salsa starting towards the back in the GTO class right now. As we enter the final 10 seconds of qualifying, I doubt we're going to see any major changes, so let's go ahead and start getting the grid read out for you. It is Alex Goll who has taken pole position, as Adam said, by a mere 9,000ths of a second over Matthias Havdal, who is here. I apologize to all the Matthias fans I might have scared earlier. Alex Millwood will be starting from 3rd position, and Nicholas Snyder will be starting alongside him in 4th place. Ryder Anderson will round out the top 5 in the GTP class, the number 16 car, so good qualifying for him in 5th. Lars Olsen will be starting to his outside in 6th place. Fabian Junkbluth and Aitor Santos Galindo will start 7th and 8th ahead of Nicolas Mucanos and Joseph Mudcrack. I'll go ahead and finish with the GTP class here. It's Guilherme de Otero in 11th ahead of Javier Mascara, Mike Rudder and Donald Peak, all 16 of the GTP drivers putting in a time, or 14 rather.
Yuko Lesko is going to start off on pole for the GTO, so Philly Rolla starting off in 2nd place. Roman Pawlowski, a fantastic qualifying for him, puts him in 3rd position alongside Reed Miller on that 2nd row for the Audis. And we have Obe Trangrade lining up behind Reed Miller. Yuri Giessen's been doing well in qualifying as well, puts him in 6th position. He's going to be battling with Robert T. Murphy and Mika Tupola in 7th and 8th positions, with Robin Happich in 9th. Brian Shanahan's going to start off 10th today for those Audis. Hideki Koivisto just outside the top 10, right in front of Christian Rivas. And then we have 2 non-qualifiers. It's Evagoras Papasavas and Ben James Latham. And that's going to round out your 14-car Audi field today, and also your 28 cars total on the grid.
A pace car is on the front straight, so the drivers will have to do a full pace lap around here. Not the longest track on the schedule though, so shouldn't take up too much of our time. Now, you mentioned, Adam, that this race has had its moments of excitement in the past. What do you think are going to be the trouble zones here, or at least the moments where the drivers may have to be a bit cautious on the opening lap?
Well, obviously turn 1 is going to be a real interesting thing at the beginning of this race. You have such a long straight that leads up to it, especially considering the fact that we're doing a rolling start. Those drivers at about 3rd, 4th position are going to have a fantastic run down to turn 1 and have an opportunity to dive it up the inside. But at that point, you got to remember, your tires and brakes are cold, so you're not going to have the same stopping power that you're used to once you get the tires and brakes up to temperature. Another sketchy part is going to be through turn 4 and through turn 4 tends to be a point of contention for these drivers, and also turn 9 after the long straight. This is a couple corners after the long straight. It's a very tight 90-degree left-hander, and the GTPs and GTOs historically have gotten crossed up at that position because the GTOs tend to push wide through 8 and take a shallow apex of 9, and the GTPs, who are a lot more under control, tend to do a wide arc into the corner, and so they tend to meet at the middle, and that's where we see some problems arise.
Now you can see they're working their way through the first complex of corners here, but now they end up, as we get, well, we're going to ride on board here, you'll see as they come out of this right-hander, they go onto the back straight, which is kind of another passing opportunity, another place where you can make moves, although it's a very medium speed left-hander that comes at the end here, so it's not unusual to see a bit of argy-bargy going on at the end of a back straight. It's not your best passing zone at the end of the day. Really, the front straight, well, that's where the seats are, that's where the fans are, and that's where the action is probably going to be.
Absolutely, Samuel. And it's, yeah, that back straight is long enough for the Audis to effect a pass if an Audi gets a good exit off of 6 onto the back straight. But like you said, that arc into turn 7 is not as slow as you would want it to be in order to try and make a pass. But here we go, getting onto that banking for one more time. We're going to see that pace car pull off into the pit lane as they start to go around turn 1. They're currently in the short chute between 1 and 2. Then they'll go backwards through turn 1, turning right hand, and then that Porsche pace car will pull off.
And then Alex Gull will have control of the field. He's qualified P number 1. He's starting position number 1. He's second in the championship, though. Let's see if he can do something about that. Green flag is out, and it's a great start by Alex Gull. He's got a massive jump over the rest of the field, who is already trying to single file, snake in the slipstream behind him, and he comes into the braking zone unchallenged for the lead. So Alex Gull leads away at the start of his 40-minute race. GTOs.
Looks like a fairly clean start for the GTOs, but here they go into braking. It's almost 4 wide as they go into the corner. That's Reed Miller trying to go around the outside of Billy Rolla. Roman Pavlovsky caught on the outside as they go through turn 2. Pretty clean start for everybody, but Ove Trangrade's off on the infield in the back of the field. He's able to keep it going. Yuko Leskala leads over Billy Rolla.
Our points lead in GTP, Matthias Havdel overshot turn number 2 and loses second position. He might even lose third. No, he's able to hold on to third place. So there we go. Nicholas Schneider has been able to make it up into second place.
Now, very good racing from those guys at the front of the field, but look at that. Alex Gall, 1.5 seconds ahead of the field, but we got to jump to the GTOs because Billy Roll is under some pressure from Roman Pavlowski for that second position. Well, there you see just how short that front straight is. Oh no, Billy Roll overdoes it on the brakes. It goes off into the infield. That's going to give second place to Roman Pavlowski. Reed Miller's going to go through. Ove Trangarade as well as Yuri Giesen, all of them up positions. Billy Roll is going to have a recovery drive in front of him today if he wants to catch Yuko Leskala.
Yeah, and that's just going to open up Leskala's lead even more. So in both classes, we're having great battles for second on back, but the lead is checking out. Here we go, battle for second in GTP.
Look at that, Nicholas Schneider jumping Matthias Hovdal, getting up there to that second position. He sees Alex Gall getting away, but Matthias Hovdal's falling back again because Millward's going to go through as well. So all these folks outdoing their braking points on this first couple of laps. Samuel, this is kind of crazy right now. And Philly Roll is out of the race.
Very unfortunate, out after just one lap of a 40-minute long race. So I have a feeling, I wonder if the track temperature has anything to do with all these mistakes we're seeing. The tyres are cold, and of course the track temperature is cold. And there we go. Even though we've advanced to the race session, track temperature is still less than 70 degrees Fahrenheit.
Now for Billy Roll, I believe it was a brake calibration issue that led to him retiring from this race. So unfortunately, he's out of it, but we're still watching this battle for second place between Alex Millward and Nicholas Schneider. You can see Nicholas really getting loose there as he goes through turn 10, trying to get back out onto the banking, but he is able to pull away a little bit, and now Millward's under pressure a little bit from Hovdal, who's trying to recover.
Yeah, so here we go as they go on down the front straight. One driver who will be watching them blast by is Hideki Kavisto. He's already in the pits with damage to his Audi. As, well, no change for position there under the braking zone, but they're all close together.
Absolutely, and there you see some clouds coming over the track, so this track is not going to be warming up as much as we thought. It's only 69 degrees Fahrenheit right now, 21 Celsius, but look at that. Millward trying to put pressure on Schneider, but I think he's going to have to focus on getting that good exit onto the back straight. But here we go through the long, sweeping left-hander they're just so close together right now. So here's that back straight, and you can see Nicholas Schneider is focusing on making sure that he gets away on these straightaways to make sure he's not getting pressure from behind from Millward.
Heading back to GTO here, continuing to watch this battle for second. I want to make a shout out over in GTP. Down in 12th place right now is Aita Santos Galindo. He started 8th in class, sits 4th in the points coming in, so not having a good race there for Aita, who's driving the number 12 car today. All right, here we go. The GTO is coming out on the back straight. Let's see if we have a change for second. Nope, they're growing apart.
Now, Reed Miller actually short-shifted onto the back straightaway. Roman Pavlowski actually hung it out in second for a little bit longer there onto the back straightaway, which gave him just enough of a leap. I think Reed Miller had a decent attempt at a run, but couldn't quite get it done. But second place is once again hot for the GTPs.
Yeah, they're staying in position right now, but they just got through turns 1 and 2. I think it was almost a bit of contact between second and third place here. Nicholas Schneider and Alex Millward. Of course, as soon as they've got themselves sorted out, they're probably going to be battling for second in the GTOs on down the front straight.
Absolutely. So as they take the right-hander onto the back straightaway now, it looks like Nicholas Schneider's going to hold that position over Millward. Matthias Hovdahl can't get a good exit either.
No change in GTOs this time around. Pawlowski's holding on to second. And things are settling down. It only took 5 minutes.
Well, it's not going to stay settled for very long. Alex Gull's coming up on the back of the slowest of the GTOs. So our leader of the race right now by 4.6 seconds, just now going onto the banking once again to complete yet another lap as he goes through turn 1. Here he comes across the line, and he's got GTOs just about ahead of him. He'll pass them right now as he goes into turn 1.
Boy, passing him like a... Oh, was that an engine failure?
I believe that was just a brake lockup, though. That was Ben James Latham, who did not set a qualifying time, so Ben probably just trying to get some laps in here.
Yeah, we have 3 cars, all GTOs, by the way, out of a race already. We'll get to more of that in just a moment. That's the rest of the GTP cars going by the slower GTO traffic.
And Sam, I've been watching Millward, and Millward looks like he's looking out his rearview mirror far more than he's looking forward at Nicholas Schneider. I think Nicholas is starting to streak away here. Millward's feeling the pressure from Hovdahl as they go back onto the back straight. You can see just how short this track is. When you look at a track map, you don't get a sense of the size, but honestly, this length of track and the amount of long sweeping turns that you have going on here makes it really hard to effect a pass unless you're on that front straightaway. There we see Millward trying to get a position. Oh, Guillertero's gone around. Guillertero's having a gigantic wreck. This was for 11th, 12th, and 13th in the GTPs. And this was contact with one of our slower Audis. This was with Ben James Latham, who we already talked about.
Oh, Latham had lost control on his own. And, yeah, more contact there. So that took out a few, or at least damaged a few of the prototypes.
And as we come back live, we're side by side for P2.
Millward has spun from third place in GTP. Oh, sorry, it wasn't Millward. It was around that area. We'll get a name here.
There we saw Alex Millward and Matthias Hovdahl. They battled for P2. Millward was able to make the pass there on the front straightaway. So as that was happening, we had that spinner going around in front of them. I believe that was... We'll keep you updated on that, but Matthias Hovdahl really struggling with the traction right now on the back straightaway. Really could not get the power down out of turn 6.
Yeah, might have just been seeing things, I don't know, but here we are, so it doesn't look like there's been any change up front in prototypes.
Yeah, but we need to go to P2 in the GTOs because Reed Miller's trying to make a pass around Roman Pawlowski here on the outside of turn 1. He goes late on the brakes, but can Pawlowski even make the corner? They both missed the braking points. Reed Miller's going to have an opportunity for an over-under here as they try and swap positions, but Roman Pawlowski going to hang on to that. Can Reed Miller dive it down the inside? Thinks better of it as they go through the long, sweeping turn 4. These Audis are going to really struggle with front tire wear here, Sam. It's going to be really difficult for them. Reed Miller... You can see both of them. Wow, Roman's really covering off that inside right now.
Great racing going on here in the opening stages of this race. This is from second on back. Do not let that number 13 car... Oh, there we go. Pawlowski way up wide. I think you can get a slowdown if you do that too much. Looks like Pawlowski got away with it. But do not let that number 13 deceive you. Pawlowski knows how to get around the racetrack.
Absolutely. Roman Pawlowski, very experienced, especially in this series. His pace in the GTOs has increased over the course of the season. He used to be one of our GTP regulars, now jumping over to the GTO, and he's solidly in second place right now. But with Billy Rolla out of this race, Yuko Leskala is 5 seconds up the road from these two right now.
Del Tero has announced that he's out of a race, so here we go back up front in the GTP, where none of these drivers have spun out yet, and they're all in a good race. Oh boy, things getting real dicey for second in GTOs. Pawlowski's, well, yeah, let's go. Here we go. Trying to make an outbreaking maneuver by Miller. I think Miller will not be too impressed with Pawlowski down the front straight.
Oh no, second place at GTPs is wrecked! Millward and Schneider get together as they go towards the braking zone for turn 1. Laust Olsen's involved in it as well. This is a complete disaster. This is going to be something that's talked about in the paddock for a long time, Sam.
Yeah, it's Schneider who kind of initiates it. He's squeezed up against the wall here and tries to pull out a bit towards the left. I don't know if maybe his car was getting unhappy aero-wise, but yeah, spun the competition into the wall. So, and there's been retaliation, live action right now. Schneider has just been taken out on purpose.
Well, I think we're going to ride with Schneider as they go through this. This is at the end of the straight, the end of turn 4, I believe.
No, it's all the way down the back straight. But, yeah.
Well, while that's all been happening, Radar Anderson is now under pressure from Nick McConos. This is now for the last spot on the podium, Sam. As all that action and drama has been going on, Radar is about to get caught by Nick McConos on the front straight.
So this is, as you mentioned, this is for third position now. The order's going to shuffle around a little bit now. We've just had a bunch of incidents in the last couple moments, and that's a much cleaner pass than the last couple we've seen attempted.
Well, Sam, I said there was fireworks every time we show up here, and this race is no exception. So Nick McCono's able to get past Radar Anderson. A little bit of brake lockup from Reed Miller, who's up in front of these guys, still hanging on to the back of Roman Pawlowski. That battle for second place of the GTOs has started to get very close as well. It's all coming down. Look at that. Roman Pawlowski once again going wide. That's Reed Miller, who we're looking at right now in the white and red machine, and they're about to get passed by this battle for P2 at the GTPs.
Yeah, so the P2 battle for GTPs that we've been watching all race long has met the P2 battle in GTOs that we've been following all race long, and things are getting a little bit dicey here. Pawlowski is still a little ways ahead of all this action going on.
So as they all navigate through the banking, this is one of the challenging points for all these drivers. You can see the GTP is going around the outside of Roman Pawlowski. Smart move from them because Roman needs as much turn in as possible. Look at that. That's Nick McConnell trying to break the draft of Radar Anderson, slowing both of them up. He's going to move to the inside to try and cover off the braking zone. Radar's going to try and send it around the outside. Thinks better of it. It's going to have to tuck in. That was Fabian Jungbluth locking up behind them. Joseph Mudrack has now joined the battle. Third through sixth, all underneath 2 seconds on track.
Yeah, there has been a lot more weaving and blocking, honestly, going on down the front straight than I anticipated at the start of this race. I know it's the best, if not the only, passing opportunity around this race, and maybe I shouldn't be too surprised because it's only a 40-minute race, so these drivers are in a hurry to get up towards the front.
Yeah, track position means everything in these 40-minute sprint races for these drivers. Here they come up to Yuko Leskola, our leader in the GTOs. Are we going to see any drama with Yuko? Yuko has plenty of time that he can give up to let these guys go by and battle, and that's exactly what he's going to do.
Yeah, multi-class traffic is going to be very tricky, especially in sections like this of a racetrack. I would say, you know, in any other race, that the winner of this race could be determined by lap traffic, but I think that's gone out the door at this point because Alex Gull has a 6-second lead over in GTPs and La Scala has a 6-second lead over in GTOs. So those two just have to try and keep their cars clean. It's really the battles for the podium positions that are going to take up, I think, most of the entertainment factor of this race. It's definitely been entertaining to watch the first 15 minutes, and here we see two GTOs hard into the braking zone. Not the first time those two have done that, and the prototype trying to find a way by.
Laust Olsen trying to find his way by, couldn't get his nose up the inside. This is Roman Pawlowski and Reed Miller once again, still battling for that second position. Roman able to take more, I think he's taking almost an off track every single lap when he gets onto the back straightaway. So here's Laust going around the outside. Roman locks up the tires a little bit, slides wide. That's going to hold up Laust Olsen and put Mike Reuter in position to get alongside him for the GTP battle for 8th position. But Reed Miller cannot capitalize. He's going to fall back once again.
Yeah, it was a simple mistake there by Pawlowski. Unfortunately, everyone lives to race another day. But now, whoa, Miller very late on the brakes there at the end of a back straight, and he's going to have to yield the position to the prototype.
Reed Miller alongside Javier Mascara, and they're able to navigate through. That's Roman Pawlowski, who we see going through the infield section. He's about to go back onto the banking, but look at that gap. It's out to 1.5 seconds now, and Reed Miller's now under pressure from Yuri Giesen for third position behind him. We're jumping on board with Yuri as we go onto the banking through turn 1, back towards the yard of bricks.
Yeah, and these two have a little bit of a gap over Ove Trandre, who's 5th in class, as they go on down the straight. Now, again, we've seen some questionable moves on down the front straight so far this race, but right now for 3rd and 4th, they're going to hold a line astern. They're probably trying to catch back up with Pawlowski. So even though Pawlowski benefited a little bit there as they were letting the Nissans by, you know, this race definitely isn't over. It could easily be the situation in a few laps' time that he loses out on an exchange with the faster cars.
Yeah, and this is Yuri's first opportunity at a podium, so we're going to see him be very aggressive here. As I hear that Laus Olsen has gone around. I'll double check on that. It was a self-spin, I believe. Yeah, he just outbroke himself going through turn 5, so unfortunately he's back off. But look at that, Reed Miller trying to tuck in behind the now spun and recovering Laus Olsen and try and pull away from Yuri Giesen. Reed and Yuri, I believe, have a little bit more pace than Roman Pawlowski up ahead of him, but it's going to take a couple more laps for them to reel him in. We're going to jump to P4 in the GTPs between Radar Anderson, Fabian Jungbluth, and Joseph Mudrack.
Oh, we got one car off at the back there in the wall.
I believe that was Christian Arribas. It was a self-spin, unfortunately, so he's now out of this race. He just hit the outside wall going through turn 1 and spun across the track.
Yeah, driving the number 26 GTO was rounding towards the tail end of the GTO field. The GTO field, I think, has definitely suffered from more attrition so far than Nissans. Oh, a big slide there for the number 16 of Ryder, and he may lose that 4th place as a result of that.
Fabian Jungbluth does not go for the move up the inside, so Radar able to hold on to that position, but that's going to put him under pressure as they head back onto the banking as they go through the sweeping turn 9 and now onto turn 10. They're going to be flat out from here all the way down to turn 1. This is a high fuel track for these drivers. Let's see whether or not Jungbluth or even Mudrack behind him can get a run. Looks like Jungbluth got a decent run as they go through turn 1 here.
He's definitely within striking range, and he can choose to make a move. Let's see how much Radar tries to defend this. He's going to hold his line. Fabian down the inside, trying to take the best racing line he can, and that's a much cleaner pass than anything else we've seen today. He's up into 4th.
Absolutely, definitely the cleanest pass that we have seen. But if we could actually jump back to P6 in the GTOs, P7 actually, those two drivers are side by side as they're going down through. This is Robin Happich and Robert T. Murphy as they've been battling. Robert T. Murphy actually falling from 6th down to 8th on this lap. So Brian Shanahan and Robin Happich have both jumped up ahead of him. Robert starting to struggle with the front end of that car. You can see him pushing out wide through turn 10 as they get onto the banking.
Approaching the halfway point of this race. I've been keeping half an eye on the interval between the two Nissan leaders. I said Alex Gold had this in the bag. Well, it did go down from 6 to 5 seconds for a little bit. So obviously Alex might have just been held up by a lead car. Whoa, missing his braking zone very much. Was the number 17, but still made the turn.
And that's that braking I was talking about. We're going to jump back up to the battle for P3 in the GTOs between Reed Miller and Yuri Giesen. And as you said, Sam, these the Audis have definitely dealt with more attrition, but unusually, that has nothing to do with the GTPs. It seems like all of these mistakes that the Audis have been making have been primarily their own mistakes, and if anything, they've caught the GTPs up in them. That's a little bit of a swap from what we've seen the rest of the season.
So watching the traffic make its way out onto the front straight here. Now, you mentioned a little while ago that some drivers, notably Pawlowski, have been picking up 1Xs for sure when he's been running wide on the exit onto the back straight. I recall that used to result in the slowdown penalty. I guess it's not the case anymore, and Pawlowski's just taken full advantage of it.
I mean, that was my guess as well, but I mean, I assume that you're right in saying that it's no longer a slowdown unless the slowdown calculation isn't quite right for the Audis on the back straight. But Roman has been using that a decent amount to get some decent pace here. But Reed Miller and Yuri are not closing the gap very much. It's out to 2 seconds now between these guys. We're going to head up to Radar Anderson once again as he's trying to chase down Jungbluth and getting chased by Joseph Mudrack. Here they go into turn one more time.
And Joseph quite late on the brakes there, but still able to make a turn, so he brings that gap down. So this is the battle for 4th, 5th, and 6th, I believe.
That's correct. 4th, 5th, and 6th on the road, and looks like Jungbluth is starting to, Anderson's starting to put some pressure on Jungbluth, which is a little bit of a surprise considering how easy he let that pass happen for that 4th position. Now, granted, they're not battling for a podium. Nick Bakanos has run away from these guys 1.5 seconds ahead, starting to fall back to them a little bit as we cross the halfway mark of this race in a couple of seconds' time. All these drivers still battling for positions. Radar a little bit too deep in there, hits the curb-side curving. It ends up pushing him wide, puts a little bit more lock into it, spends a little bit of that tire life to keep the thing online.
Yeah, and the Burgundy car not too far up the road from them is the 3rd place car of Nicolas Mucanos, so I don't think any of these drivers have ruled out the possibility of getting a podium yet. The top 2 remain separated by about 6 seconds. That gap continues to ebb and flow depending on the lap traffic, so we'll keep an eye on that for you. But right now, this battle for 4th, 5th, and 6th in the GTP class is definitely where the action is.
Absolutely. Nick Bakanos in 3rd position. The GTP is just going to kill me for saying this, but he's not had the best of luck when it comes to the Audi traffic. And so we're going to jump on board with Joseph Mudrack as he was just struggling to get by Robert T. Murphy, who was in that battle with Robin Happich. Happich now about 2 seconds up the road, but just ahead of him, you're going to see the traffic is starting to get thick for these guys battling for that 4th position, and Nick Bakanos has lost out once again. The gap down to 1 second between Jungbluth and Bakanos, and it's actually closer now. Jungbluth starting the game.
Yeah, Jungbluth able to get by a GTO on the straight there, which definitely is an advantage. And he's going to be right on the back of Jungbluth here. See if he's close enough to try and make a move on down the front straight. Still has plenty of time to get it done. 18 minutes left to go. And but those laps will start clicking off quickly now that we're within the closing moments of this event.
If you're wondering whether Alex Gall and Hobdall are getting any closer, the answer is no. 7.5 seconds between our lead in the GTPs, 10.5 seconds between our lead in the GTOs. So Yuka Leskola, without Billy Rolla to challenge him, is having another free race today.
And this battle that we're watching in the GTP class will start to close on that battle from 2nd through 5th that we've been keeping an eye on the GTOs. Pawlowski, Miller, Gizgen, and Trantere. None of them are battling right now, but they're all spaced out by about a second, and depending on how the GTPs get by them, that could affect either battle.
Absolutely. So it's going to be, these are the determining passes that we're going to see happening right here. Ove Trangrade just ahead of Bakanos that he's passing right now. Ove's still on that recovery drive from going off track at the beginning of the race. Currently in 5th position, which is a decent job from him to get up there. Currently back into his starting position. He's got Yuri Giesen up ahead of him. Reed Miller's run away from Yuri just a little bit as the tire wear has gone on. So as we're watching Ove Trangrade go around there, that was Radar Anderson and Fabian Newbooth also tracking around. So looks like these guys have all spread out just a little bit, but I think Radar's got a run on Fabian if he wants to take it into turn 1.
Yeah, he's definitely got the momentum, but I don't think he's close enough position-wise. They're also having to deal with some GTO traffic here. The 2nd place car, Pawlowski, right in front of him. And Fabian's not going to like this. Pawlowski's not doing anything wrong, but he's kind of caught him at one of the worst possible parts on the track. And Pawlowski can't afford to slow up too much here because he's got all the GTOs he's racing right behind him.
Precisely, and that little late brake lockup from Pawlowski is very normal if the Audi gets that shallow line through there. This is Mudrack who's cutting through, that we're riding on board with, cutting through those Audis. You can see just how much time he's been losing here, just trying to navigate through the Audi traffic behind our 2 drivers up ahead. So While Mudrak used to be right on the back of Ryder Anderson, he's now 2.5 seconds behind.
While all this simmers down very temporarily, I'll give a shout out to Aitor Santos Galindo. I mentioned how he wasn't doing too well earlier on. He was all the way down in 13th. He's back up into 7th now, surviving all the attrition, and especially with the retirement of Alex Millward earlier on in this race, this might actually end up being a good points day for him.
Absolutely. He just made his way around Ove Trangrade and Yuri Giesen. Ove also on his own recovery drive. But all these drivers just now pretty evenly spaced out right now. But Nick Makanos getting held up by traffic. This is going to give an opportunity to Fabian Jungbluth to make a pass for the podium here. He's going to take it.
Oh. Yeah, Makanos really getting held up. He's able to hold on to 3rd, but I'm sure he wasn't too fond of that lap traffic there, because that really has put the rest of his competition on his tail.
Absolutely, Jungbluth putting pressure on Leskala now, on Makanos. This is Yuka Leskala, the lead Audi up ahead of them. They should easily pass them by the time they get to the turning point for turn 7. Well, I say that Nick Makanos can get there, but Jungbluth cannot, and it looks like Leskala's going to give him the inside line. Makanos cursing Leskala, most likely, underneath that helmet. They gave Jungbluth such a good line through the corner, because Makanos had to take a shallow line. Jungbluth could take the normal line through the corner, but Radar Anderson, don't count him out of this. Still back down there in 5th position. We're now battling for the last spot on the podium. Mudrak still 2 seconds behind these guys.
Well, with the massive lead that Leskala has of 11 seconds over in the GTO class, you kind of don't blame him for letting all 3 by at once there. He was probably as concerned about those 3 taking him out as he was getting involved in their battle.
Absolutely. We're going to take a look at Yuri Giesen and Ove Trangrade. Trangrade still on his recovery drive. Giesen trying to hang on to that 4th position. He has fallen 3.5 seconds back of Reed Miller. And here goes Ove Trangrade. Giesen's just going to let him go by. Giesen knows that his pace is not quite enough right now. So Ove Trangrade now making that pass. Giesen's going to try and fight back around the outside just a little bit, but Ove a little bit more calm on the brakes. I think he's trying to preserve his stuff still, but he's got 4 seconds up to Reed Miller and Roman Pawlowski, and he's struggling to get off these corners.
Yeah, so these two are battling for 4th. Pawlowski and Miller are still battling for 2nd, or at least they're quite close for 2nd and 3rd, as they have been all race long. Now we pick up Fabian Jungbluth once again, who has also been involved in a lot of battles so far.
Yeah, Jungbluth actually took it a little bit wide through turn 7. This is breaking point either that or is dealing with brake fade, which is a new thing for these cars in this latest update. So Jungbluth possibly dealing with a little bit of brake fade right now, trying to hang on to that machine, but Radar Anderson can't capitalize on it. As you see, as they go onto the front straightaway, he's just too far back to make a pass. But they've got the toe of Nick Makanos up ahead, so that final spot on the podium still within grasp.
It's always bittersweet when iRacing brings out a new update that makes something a little bit more realistic, but then you realize, I've got to deal with this now, such as brake fade. It also brings me back to when dirty windshields became part of the sim. Oh, this is awesome, but now I've got something else to worry about doing my race.
Absolutely. Having to manage all of those new updates is one of the things that makes the regulars in these iRacing series so impressive. But we're looking at Trangrade and Yuri Giesen. Yuri Giesen's trying to make the pass back on Trangrade. We're going to do it on down the inside of turn 1 and gets the job done. I think Giesen saw how slow Ove was through the infield and decided that he wanted to take that position back. Let's take a look at this again.
Well, these two qualified alongside each other in 19th and 20th overall, so yeah, that would also have been for 5th and 6th in class. So it wouldn't surprise me if this isn't the last time we see them switch positions on down that front straight.
When we jump back to them live, you can see Ove Trangrade still putting pressure on Yuri as they get towards the breaking point for turn 7. I think Ove is going to be a little frustrated with that return move.
Oh, we got a car off. They're coming up to a car off here.
Oh man, they almost make contact as they go through. Ove Trangrade is able to get by Yuri Giesen there.
That was Ben Trains Latman. He was the driver who was involved with some of her GTP cars earlier in an incident. He's came back out to try and pick off some positions.
Well, fortunately for him, did not cause yet another wreck, so Now Ove Trangarade now ahead of Yuri Giesen. Yuri's not able to get up to him by the time they hit turn 1. Yuri's going to be a little bit frustrated with that for sure, considering he lost that position to Ove.
Yeah, we've got a new battle in GTOs now. This is for 6th and 7th in class. Brian Shanahan holding off Robin Hapich.
Now Robin Hapich and Brian Shanahan going into turn 1. Robin's been tucked in about 2/10 behind Brian for a couple of laps now. Can't seem to get the job done. He's got a little bit of left front damage, which
oh, we got a spinner. Lost Olsen has spun. He got help from GTO traffic and into the wall.
And believe it or not, this was from Yuri Giesen. So Yuri's been locking up his brakes the last couple times through these corners. Laust Olsen goes up the outside, and Yuri Giesen, trying to get a better braking zone, just ends up washing out wide and running into him. Laust heavy into the tire barrier.
I think those virtual fans sitting in those cars in the infield would have been happy that wall was there. All right, 10 minutes left to go. We've got plenty of battles still left out here on the circuit, and I don't know if some of these might not be resolved until the final lap, Adam.
Absolutely, but Hapich has got the best run he's had all race, but the long, sweeping, flat exit of turn 11 makes it difficult to maintain that speed. He's going to go through the sweeping turn 1 of the oval, turn 14 on this particular track. He's got a decent run, but is he washing out too wide? He does hit the outside wall contact, just a little bit too far underneath the rear wing, but he's still going to hang on to it. He's kept his foot down, and he's going to dive it up the inside for turn 1. Brian Shanahan, late on the brakes, is going to cover him off.
We were watching one GTO in qualifying, can't remember who it was, but I made note at the time, but why are they lifting for the final turn? Well, now I know why. Oh, here we go, down the inside.
And side-by-side contact between them. Hapich, good on him to hold the brakes a little bit. He realized he was going to make that contact and is able to hold it off. Here comes Matthias Hovdahl, second place in the GTPs, cutting through these guys. He's got a 5-second lead over Nick Pekanos in third position. But Hapich has got to have some serious right front damage now that's going to be affecting his drive off of these corners, especially this back straight. And what's unfortunate for him, Sam, is that every single one of the straightaways is preceded by a right-hander, which means the four-wheel drive on that left front is going to be not powering him as he goes onto the front straightaway.
Talking about Havdahl going by there. Oh, here we go. Pawlowski and Miller at it again for second place on down the front straight. Have a GTP car going by them.
That's the leader, Alex Gall.
And down into the braking zone. Miller holding station for now, but he's still right on the back of Pawlowski. But I just want to make a note that this is going to really heat up a tramp. Oh, wow. Miller's real slow.
Very slow. Miller's out of fuel?
Something really bizarre going on. Oh, wow, that's a lapped car.
No, that's Roman. That is a lap car for sure. That's Hideki Koivisto. I think something is going on in his cockpit because he seems pretty distracted right now. He's got it going once again, but he's lost 3 seconds to Reed Miller. While that was happening, Ove Trangarade tried to make the Yuri Giesen actually made the pass on Ove Trangarade in the braking zone into turn 1. They're still nose to tail as they go down the back straight.
Well, whatever's going on with Reed Miller, I hope it gets sorted out soon, or else this battle for fourth may catch him.
This might be a battle for the podium position here as these two still continue to battle. Like you said, they qualified together, so this is just pace between the two of them on this track. So it's great to see a battle like this happening on track. This is Matthias Hovdahl. Second place is going to cut through. He's going to be a good time for Ove Trangarade. Not the best time for Yuri Giesen, but Hovdahl just cuts through and goes around the outside of them with the draft. But Ove Trangarade, can he keep the pace going? He can't quite get to the apex. He's going to lose time as he goes down the front straightaway.
Yeah, I think he got out of that better than Giesen, though. I think Giesen actually clipped the wall a little bit going into that final corner.
So as they break, you can see behind them there's the battle for third position in the GTPs. This is going to get interesting because Ove and Yuri have not been very kind to GTP traffic. Unfortunately, they should be able to go around the outside of turn 3. That's going to cut off Ove Trangarade. Nick Makanos is going to make it through. Fabian Jungbluth is going to be a little bit disenfranchised from that, but Nick Makanos could get held up by Yuri Giesen on the exit of the corner. Here comes Fabian Jungbluth, thinks about making it 3 wide through turn 6. Can't quite do it. Oh, Yuri Giesen goes wide, almost pushing Fabian Jungbluth into the grass.
Not the first time we've seen that happen at that corner today. So who's going to be the big winners out of this? Maybe nobody. It looks like they all kind of held station pretty well.
Just goes to show you how evenly matched most of these drivers are. They're going around the lap car of Hideki Koivisto now, the lap GTO, and that's going to mean that, Fabian Luth really has to take the inside curving there. As they go around, he's going to be under pressure from Radar Anderson as they start to go back onto the front straight. This is Reed Miller up in that third position that they're going around right now. Seems to have recovered and is going at race pace. Which side is Jungbluth going to take? He takes the outside smartly. Radar's going to do the same, but now Jungbluth with no help ahead of him except for the distant car of Makanos, maybe under pressure from Anderson into turn 1.
The seconds continue to tick down. Tire smoke continues to erupt from the tires heading into the first corner. I think these battles are about to get even more spicy in the dying moments of this race. Remember how dramatic the opening to this race was? Well, we might not have seen anything yet.
Not at all. Look at that. Nick Makanos sweeping by. This is Roman Pavlowski that they're going by. And I can report that Brian Shanahan had a lockup into turn 1 in the Audis and is now under heavy pressure from Robin Happich once again. But look at this, Jungbluth and Radar, they actually get held up behind each other. Radar not able to get the power down. Jungbluth streaks away once again. This has brought Mudrack back into the equation, Sam, after about 20 minutes.
Yeah, he's just got to be there where it counts. So Makanos leading the 4-car pack there. This continues to be the 2-car battle for the 4th place and 5th positions in GTO between Gieson and Trangeray.
Yeah, and you got to focus on the exit of the corner right here through turn 10. We're going to Happich and Shanahan. They're side by side as they exited the back straightaway. Look at this. I'm so impressed with Happich on how he's been able to hold off Shanahan this entire race. So as everyone goes streaking through these corners, I can report that Ove Trengray and Yuri Gieson got separated by Aitor Sintes Gando, who cut through them, so they're about a second apart now. But here we go, Happich and Shanahan again. Shanahan with a decent opportunity at a draft. He breaks just a little bit. Oh, that's Happich who gets pushed wide. This is going to be a good opportunity for Shanahan.
Shanahan is right up on the bumper. He's looking to the inside. Happich thinks about coming across and maybe throwing the block. He might not have to do that. Yeah, it looks like he's going to be able to outbrake Shanahan anyway.
Happich needed about 2 more seconds. Oh, contact between Javier Mosquera and Shanahan. Just a little bit. Fortunately, both drivers able to keep going, but Shanahan needed another 2 seconds of that draft. He didn't stay in it long enough behind Happich before he popped out to try and make that late-breaking move.
Yeah, there's definitely an art to pulling off a slipstream, and right now, Nicholas Makanos will be feeling a little bit safer. He's definitely not out of the woods yet, but he's got a bit of breathing room behind him, so he can focus on hitting his marks as they go into turn 1 with just over 3 minutes left on the clock. So we are entering now for sure the dying laps of this event.
Absolutely. It's about 3 laps to go for our leader, Alex Gall, 17 seconds ahead of Matthias Hovdal, who's 7 seconds ahead of this battle for the final step on the podium. This is between Nick Makanos, Fabian Jungbluth, Radar Anderson, and the mustard car of Joseph Mudrack, who's tucked in behind them as well. A 4-car battle now for that final step on the podium, but Nick Makanos doing exactly what he needs to do to stay tucked ahead of these guys. But it's side by side between Ove Trengray and Yuri Gieson as they go into turn 1 again. Ove Trengray on the brakes hard. He's going to give the inside line to Yuri, but Yuri gets up on the curbing, can't quite hang on to it. Move Ove up to 4th position again.
Alex Gull was just coming out of a final turn now, so he's going to cross the line with about 2 minutes 15 seconds left on the clock. That's only 2 laps left to go, because when he comes across the line next time by, there'll only be a minute left.
Yeah, we'll see how iRacing calculates that every once in a while to give the leader an extra lap, and that extra lap is going to be something that they're not happy with. But look at this, Ove Trengray is pushed a little bit wide by one of the lapping cars, and Yuri Gieson looks like he's been dropped back as well, so traffic is starting to kick these guys in the shins a little bit.
Yeah, we'll get a replay here of exactly what happened to Gieson. Oh, no, that's not traffic. That's a big, that's a big moment. I mean, it was traffic. It was the traffic of a GTO car. He was battling in front of him, making a mistake.
Yeah, the two of them make front to rear contact. Ove Trengray goes a little bit wide, but now they're once again nose to tail as they go back onto the banking. This battle is not anywhere near over. Look at that, a
Just
good run from
making
Yuri.
sure.
Oh, that was close.
I might contradict you here, though, because the leader is about to cross the start-finish line now. If he gets those two cars, they'll be on their final lap.
That's exactly right.
Maybe.
So Alex Gall crossing the line now. He's got about a quarter of a lap to catch those guys. I don't think he's going to get there quite, Samuel. So unfortunately for Ove Trengrade, he might have Yuri tucked in behind him. We go back to that battle as they're now going through turns 5 and 6 as they go onto the front straightaway here. Yeah, I don't think Alex is going to get there. It's going to be close.
The battle for third is still a little bit spread out in GTP. Keeping half an eye on those guys because they are quite close actually in the braking zone. Here we are, watching them go through turn 2 right now on their final lap.
Absolutely. All of them racing through here. Nick McConnell's trying to hang on to that. He doesn't have that much traffic up ahead of him to deal with, fortunately. So the only traffic he's going to have to deal with is Christian Arribas, who's about 3 seconds up the road. They should be able to catch him this lap.
All right, Goal is making his way through the final complex of turns right now.
He'll catch Yuri Giesen. Is he going to catch Ove Trengrade?
Oh, he's backing out of it. He's going to let Giesen complete his final lap. Nice sporting move there. Alex Goal takes the checkered flag. Here's a winner here at Indianapolis.
B3 in the GTP still tense. We got Radar Anderson with a decent run out of turn 10 through turn 11 on the back of Jungbluth. I think Nick McConnell has got this in the bag, but the question is, can Anderson get a run through turn 1, oval turn 1, as they go through the final turn of the circuit? Looks like Matthias Hollowell is going to take second, Nick McConnell's third, Fabian Jungbluth fourth, and Radar Anderson fifth. Joseph Mudrak just out of the top 5 and 6th.
La Scala is making his way through the final complex of turns here. He's been quite unchallenged for the lead in the GTOs. This is why qualifying's important, isn't it? Oh boy, big slide there. I wonder if he's just showing off at this point. Yeah, he's just turning that car into a drift car for the fans. Give them something to watch since they haven't really been able to enjoy a battle for the lead in either class. Make sure you bring it home in one piece here, Yuko. I think he's got it. Here he comes out of a final turn, taking the win in GTOs to La Scala.
Roman Pavlovsky will secure second and Reed Miller third fairly easily unless they make contact with the outside wall. There's Roman right now. But the battle for fourth and fifth is very tight. Ove Trengrade and Yuri Giesen. Yuri clipping the inside, curving just a little bit. Here they go through the final turn of the course. Turn 1 in the oval, and Yuri Giesen just not quite enough. He's got such a good run, but it's not going to matter because the finish line is right here, and Ove Trengrade will finish ahead of Yuri Giesen, fourth and fifth.
Well, that's going to conclude today's race, but it's not going to conclude our broadcast because after all of that action, I'm sure there's some drivers with some things to say. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be back with a full race rundown and driver interviews. Don't go away. Hello and welcome back to the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, where we just witnessed round number 6 of the Kamel GT Championship, which brings us up to the halfway point of the season. And the championship in GTP is going to get even closer as Alex Gull, who sat second in the point centre in this race, wins the race, and our points leader coming into the race, Matthias Havdal, finishes in second place. So things will close up between those two. Nicholas Mucanos holds on for third place with 3 drivers breathing down his neck, including Fabian Junblue, Ferreira Anderson, and Joseph Mudrak. Down in 7th position was a driver who entered this race 4th in the points, at Seitos Santos Galindo, so he brought home a good finish considering he was down in 13th at one point. Javier Mosquera finishes in 8th position ahead of Mike Ruder, and Donald Peake rounds out the 10 drivers who finished in GTP. There are 4 other drivers you'll see in the rest of the standings: Lars Olsen, Guilherme Dorotero, Nicholas Schneider, and Alex Millward, who didn't make it to the end.
Yuko Leskala had an uncontested run to the victory, with Villarola having that early wreck. Roman Pawlowski comes home in second place with Reed Miller in third. Roman and Reed had a great battle most of the time during this race, but Reed just fell off the back after having technical issues. Ove Trangrade finishes ahead of Yuri Giesen. Those two qualified in those positions and now finish in those positions as well. 4th and 5th. Robin Hapich finishing 6th ahead of Brian Shanahan. Another close battle in the GTOs. Robert Murphy in 8th position ahead of Mika Tupola are the last 2 drivers in the GTOs, actually in the field, who did not have significant problems. Then we have Hideki Koivisto, Christian Arribas, Ben James Latham, and then 2 drivers one driver who did not start, Evagoras Papasavas, and then Villarola had technical issues on the first lap and had to quit.
Well, so there was a lot of drama on back towards the backside of the field, but up front, Alex Gull, an 18-second lead you boasted by the checkered flag. Congratulations, and how'd you do it?
Thanks. Well, my strategy was to qualify first and avoid the drama, and that's exactly what happened. And I'm watching it back because obviously I didn't see anything, and there was a lot of drama indeed.
Yes, there was a lot of drama. I'm sure you'll have fun watching the broadcast back. Our fans, I hope, enjoyed it too. But the gap you had to Matthias Havdal, it was down to 4 seconds at one point, as, lap traffic did its sin. But then eventually you opened it up to 18 seconds. Did you just get lucky, or did you find an extra gear? What happened in the second half of that race?
I watched it back, and Matthias got caught up in, I think it's turn 7, and he slowed down too late and ended up in the gravel. So he lost about a dozen seconds here. And he also thinks I'm a bit quicker and cleaner, but I don't think it's true. I think he did most of the work for this track in terms of setup, finding new tricks, finding the lines. I just copied him basically. So yeah, he deserved a lot of. He really deserved the podium, but he also deserved the win, I think.
Well, either way, however it went down, it's certainly great championship-wise. We're halfway through the season, and this is going to help you close up on him in the points. Next round, we go to the road course at the Twin Rim Motegi. Do you think you can close in on the points lead and maybe even take a points lead there?
I love Motegi, so I'm really looking forward to it. It's I almost have a setup ready. I think it's going to go well. It's going to be cool, I think.
All right, we don't have any other drivers who want to talk to us right now, Alex, so we'll throw a couple more questions your way. First off, how tricky was the track? We noticed the track temperature was very cold, and we saw a lot of mistakes early on. Was it hard to find grip in the opening laps?
Yeah, it was still difficult. I had a couple setups ready for the race. The most important thing with the car on low wing was the rake and how high you can set the rear right height. And I had a couple of presets ready. So in quali, I noticed that the high rake didn't really work even on 19C. It was very slidey. I barely made it to P1. The race would have been very different otherwise. And so I decided to take the most safe option. And I guess it worked because Mattia followed me. He, just like yesterday, he had the big slide and didn't go well for him. Yeah, that was really the strategy, like starting P1 and avoid the incidents. And I'm glad I did.
All right, and I'll hand it over to my co-commentator here, Adam Lindgren. Adam, anything you'd like to say to Alex?
Absolutely, Alex. Great race today. One of the questions I wanted to ask was, how was the traffic today? We know that around here it can tend to be a little bit of a fireworks show because of how hard it is for the Audis to hit the apexes. Did you have any trouble with Audis that were locking up or going wide through the corners today?
I have to say the Audis were very compliant. I have to thank them because they were very safe. Usually it's it can be a bit difficult, but here the traffic is really bad on this track. I really don't enjoy it, and somehow it was quite clean and everybody had the same trouble, so there was no point where you were very lucky and you were gaining 3 seconds. It didn't really happen. Yeah, it's also the fact I did 3 races already on this track, like this week, so I knew a bit what to do, what not to do. I killed Jan Haycox yesterday, so I know what not to do as well. It's difficult.
Well, we're glad you were able to have a clean race here today. Congrats again, Alex, and we look forward to seeing you again next week.
Thank you. See you guys.
All right, well, that is going to wrap up our coverage here of round number 6 of the Kamel GT Championship at Indianapolis. We would like to thank all of the organisers and the competitors in the Kamel GT Championship for coming out this morning and putting on an interesting show, to say the least. Additional thanks goes out to the companies that provide the software and hardware for our broadcasts, and you can see those listed on your screen. Thanks to Drew Lalonde, who provides us with our music. See the screen for how to get a hold of more of her great work. Thanks to the team today, Adam, Sean and Dougie. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, including upcoming races, you can find it at globalsimracingchannel.com, or you can check us out on Twitter at GSR Channel, Facebook at Global Sim Racing Channel, or Instagram at GSRC_gram. Join us again this time next week for round number 7 from Motegi. All of our other upcoming races for our other series are listed on your screen, so be sure to check those out. Mark them down on your calendar and don't miss another second of exciting racing action. But until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.